All right, everybody should be there, I think. All right, so what MyDPS is basically it's a really good resource for you, whether it be sales proposals, tech support, RMAs, if you need user manuals, any of that kind of stuff. So we're kind of going to go through some of the important features in this and hopefully get you familiar with it so you can use it as a resource to help you. Sometimes this is a little bit quicker than calling in, waiting to talk to somebody, because we have a lot of guides on here, things like that. Firmware, if you need firmware updates, this is where you would also go. So we'll kind of go through a little bit of these options here. The first one we have is DPS projects and proposals. That's where you would view your proposals and documents you're working with sales on. It's all located in that area there. The second one, in the unfortunate event of an RMA, this is where you would go. So I'll go into the RMA Request form here. So if you click on that, you'll see here's our return merchandise authorization. So this is all the information you would need to fill out. Your contact info, shipping info, billing info, all that kind of stuff, your product information. And after you fill all that out, proceed to the next step. It's pretty easy, so just fill in all the boxes and get it back to us and start the process. Okay, go to Home. All right, help tickets. If you're working with support and you have an open ticket, you can view your tickets here. I don't think I have any. So if I did, I'd have my status, ID number, assigned to, all that kind of information. Or if you need help and you want to request it, you can do that here as well. And that'll alert our tech support for you. All right, back to the main menu. We got a factory training one, so if you want to find out information about factory training, you're all here, so I'm assuming you know something about that. All right, an important one here is notifications, so I'll go into notifications. All right, so here's where you would select what you want notifications on what products. So whatever products you own or work with, you can select which ones you want to be notified on specifically, if any.
Notified from you?
Yes, from us, about firmware updates and things like that. So that's where you can do that, and you'll get an email whenever we send out new firmware on the web. You'll get an email notification saying we've got a new version. Okay, next one, product user manual downloads. This is an important one too. Like I said, sometimes you don't want to go through a huge book, so the digital manual might be a good idea because it's a searchable document, so if you want to find something quicker, or if you don't have a paper document handy, this is where you can get a digital download of it. It's also on the CD that you get when you get our equipment, but if it's not handy, you can download it here. This is going to be the most up-to-date one. So if I were to type in G5, so go to and type product G5, and you should get a list of user manuals here. The one we're going to download is the NetGuardian 832A G5 and 864A user manual. So go ahead and click on that link and download the manual. All right. All right, so I'm going to save mine to the desktop. All right, back on the MyDPS menu here. Next one is Firmware Software MIB download. So this is another important one. This is where you would go if you want to download specific firmware, latest firmware, older firmware, whatever you want. Software that goes with it like ngEdit, which we'll use later with the G5. And MIB downloads for when you're working with Teamon. So I'll go into there. All right, so you have a drop-down list here. I'm going to select the piece of equipment that I want. We're going to select the NetGuardian 832A, 864A G5. So you want to select that one right there. All right, go ahead and hit select. And you'll be presented with this interface here. A couple of things to point out on this this firmware download menu here. First thing, the latest is at the top. So latest firmware release is at the top. You'll see version 5.5S, then the build number. So this one's build 295. The firmware file name that you'll be downloading is right there. The date and time it was released. And the release date is here on the side. Something important to note is the release notes. So you got a notification saying there's new firmware out for the G5. You go here. You notice you're not using the latest one, so we go to release notes and click that. And under all these different firmwares, you'll see the release notes has the same stuff. Summary of changes, so what's changed, what's been fixed, what's been updated, what's been added. All that information is going to be in the summary of changes here. You'll also see the programmer who did it and what date. So, like I said, you want to read through that. There's no reason to update if you don't need to. Some people like to have the latest on there, but it's not critical. If we only fix something that has nothing to do with the feature you're using or anything like that, then you don't have to update. Our RTUs are also backward uploadable, so you can go to the previous version of firmware and older firmware. We try to keep that backwards compatibility. We try and test for that, upgrading, downgrading, and all that. So we do our best to make sure that works. But once you update, you're not locked into that very newest firmware, so you can go backward. If everything looks good, you can hit the download link in this menu. You'll see that it's bundle.zip. What that means is you get the firmware for the G5 as well as the software that goes with the G5. So you don't have to do two separate downloads. You can get the firmware and the software all in one shot. So go ahead and click that, bundle.zip. And go ahead and save that to your desktop or your flash drive if you feel like it. I recommend the computer. Let's go back to the previous menu before the release notes and the download here. So this menu right here. A really important note is you'll see that some of these have limited release tags on them. What that means is basically we do a lot of custom stuff here to make exact fit solutions. So a lot of the time we'll get a very specific request and have to add this functionality or some type of feature that makes somebody's job a lot easier, and doesn't really apply to the general user. So we'll tag it as a limited release, so it's very specific to their company or whatever their application is. So you want to avoid uploading those to your unit because they're really specifically designed. So you might even lose functionality depending on what the user wanted. So just keep that in mind. You can see that we go really far back. Keep a lot of the old firmware on here, so you can literally go through all of these if you wanted to. So. All right. Mine finished downloading. That's good. Let's go back to MyDPS home. Everyone clear on that? On the limited release and all that? All right, custom RTU voice wizard. I believe that's specific to voice 16. Product information search. So if you want to get tech specs on some of our products and all that, you can go through there. It's fun to go through. One that I really like is the product datasheet downloads. So we'll go into that. Say you're looking for something specific or just looking at equipment that you might need. These are really helpful to go through. So if you were maybe looking at a 480 G4, for example, or the G5, you wanted to know more information about it, you can go ahead and click one of these product summaries. And they're really quick breakdowns on how many analogs, how many alarms, all those quick specs that you would need to know. So if you're looking for a certain amount of analogs or something, you can easily find out the information. So it's all the bullet points on all of our different RTUs, so you can see what the differences are, the options that it has, if it has fiber, dual LAN, any of that. And they're really quick overviews to get familiar with the device, and we got some diagrams in there. So it's really nice to go through and look at all the different options that we have. So you can look at power options, tech specs, and all that as well. Also, we'll be doing at lunchtime or after lunchtime each day. We'll do a product demo for you. So we'll try and get you familiar with some of our other products in our lineup. Mostly today we'll be just dealing with the G5, but we have a lot of different RTUs and all that. So we'll try and expose you to some of those as well. All right. Let's go back to MyDPS Home. Okay, another important one here is the how-to guides. This is one of my favorite sections to go to. I actually use this myself while I'm at work. These are really helpful because I'll actually go into it right now. Basically what these are very specific how-to guides on accomplishing specific tasks. So I like it a little more than the user manual because I don't have to go search through a bunch of stuff, and the user manual is typically not really detailed. You know, it might give you a couple steps, but we try and make these what we call TKPs, which are techno knowledge papers. So we'll have one of our engineers or somebody in sales or somebody will capture screenshots, put diagrams in there, troubleshooting steps. So it's very specific to help you accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish, maybe avoid calling in. So if you want to do something simple like set up an email notification or telnet into a NetGuardian, for example, if I'm looking for telnetting in, I don't know how to do that. I'm going to press Control F, type telnet. I see telnet to a NetGuardian, so I'll go into that. And you'll see this is a little more detailed than the user manual would often give you. So it's asking what you're trying to do. So what it does, connecting to a NetGuardian with telnet allows you to quickly access from a remote location. This sounds exactly like what I want to do. All right, so this techno knowledge paper can help you if you are unable to telnet to your NetGuardian. It gives you a flowchart here to help you troubleshoot your issue. So it's almost like having tech support with you because we actually make a lot of these based on tech support calls. So we'll add and update these, and we'll find common issues that clients run into and try and make it easier to understand. Give you the port you need to connect on, some screenshots, where to go in Windows. All that information's in here. So you shouldn't have any problem being able to telnet if you were to look this up. That's the goal anyways when we try and write these. But like I said, you're always welcome to call in. Our tech support is completely free. So feel free to call whenever you need us. It's a basically you can talk to a live person here. We keep you with the same person as well. Try to do that. You can even call us if it's really drastic. You can call us after hours. We have an after hours paging system, so you'll get a call back within within 15 minutes or 10. Yeah, I know it's pretty quick. So yeah, if you're struggling 2:30 at night, need some help, you can still call us. Well, the thing about our tech support is we have some dedicated tech support people, but we actually have them in our engineering department, so we can assist tech support better to assist you better. So a lot of the time, some of you may have called in before, but if you call in, you'll probably talk to Chris, or Romero just left us. Daniel is going to be helping. I'm going to be helping, and you'll stay with that person. We're not going to bounce you around. For example, if Daniel has a call, he'll spark me on our instant messaging thing, saying we got a client, he's having this problem. Do you know? If I know, I'll go over to his office. He doesn't transfer me over or transfer to my office. I'll go into his office. We'll talk about the problem, find a solution. So they have access to people that build the equipment and write the software for the equipment to help give you a better tech support experience instead of reading scripts and all those kinds of things. So, which I'm sure we've all called in somewhere and had terrible tech support like that. So we try to do our best possible. And like I said, if it's something real common, then we'll write one of these TKPs up and try and help you out. So that's a really good resource if you're trying to learn how to do something. Oops. All right. I think that's about all the main things I wanted to go over on that. Any questions on my